everyone, my name is Aditya Dutt and I am the founder of an organization called Mission Dice. We aim to inspire everyone to learn how to design, innovate, create, and educate. Today we'll be running through the process of creating a 3D design and then seeing it become a real-life object.
Alright, so let's start by opening up your favorite browser on your computer. Tinkercad works best with Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. Let's go to tinkercad.com. If you have an account, you can click the sign in button on the top right and sign in. Otherwise, let's go through making an account. If you don't have an account yet, click the Join Now button on the top right corner. Then, click on Create a Personal Account. Then, if you have a Google account, you can click on Sign in with Google. Okay, let's get started. Once we're on the Tinkercad homepage, let's click on the Create New Design button. First, let's learn how to move around our workspace so that we can see our model in different ways. If we use our right mouse button, we can do what's called orbiting. This is when we rotate our view so that we can see our models from different angles. Then, if you use the scroll wheel, we can zoom in and out. The last thing we need to know is how to pan. If we hold the scroll wheel down or press the middle mouse button, we can move the screen around. Okay, let's get started. So we'll begin with making the Deathly Hallows sign. We're going to do this in 3 main steps. First, let's start with this triangle shape. On the right side, we can see the polygon shape. Let's drag it over to the middle of the workspace. Since we're making a triangle, let's click here to open this menu if it isn't opened already, and set the sides to 3. Let's adjust the view a little so that we can get our model in a good angle. Let's use this top white dot to make the triangle a little flatter. If we hold down the Shift key while dragging this corner white dot, we can keep the shape the same while making our triangle bigger. Let's learn about holes now. Up until now, all we've been doing is adding shapes. There's also a way in Tinkercad to remove material. The basic idea behind this is to create a shape and turn it into a hole that will carve away from anything solid it's touching. Let's use this triangle as an example. Let's copy, using Ctrl-C, and paste, using Ctrl-V, our triangle to create another one the exact same size. Let's shrink it a little bit, using the corner white dot and holding the Shift key. Let's go to this view so that we can make sure that our new smaller triangle is taller than the original one. Alright, let's return to the top view now. Let's drag the smaller triangle over so that it looks about centered with the larger one. Over here, let's click this button. It turns the selected shape into a hole. Now, to actually carve out of the original triangle, we have to do what's called grouping. This means that Tinkercad will treat the grouped objects like a single one. It's also good for making holes. So we'll click on one of the triangles, then we'll hold Shift, and click the other triangle. This selects both of them. Now we'll come over here and click. This will group them. Great, now we have our triangle. Quick note, if you're having trouble centering your triangles, or it is difficult to make out how large your triangles are, you can click this button over here. This new view is called orthographic, and it shows everything on a 2D plane. If you change the view to the top, it can be way easier to see how the shapes look. Anyway, let's get back to this. Next, we're going to add our circle. Let's start with dragging over a cylinder and centering it inside the triangle. First, before we do anything else, we need to make sure our cylinder is touching all the sides of the triangle. Let's do this by orbiting around. If it's not touching on all sides of the triangle, make the cylinder just a little bit bigger. Now, just like before, to make this shape a circle outline, we're going to add another smaller cylinder and make it a hole. So let's drag over the cylinder, resize it to be a little smaller than the original cylinder, and make it taller, and drag it to center over the other cylinder. This is where the benefits of orthographic view come in. From this view, it looks like our new cylinder is way bigger than the old one. But if we change our view, it clearly shows that it isn't. Using orthographic view gets rid of this illusion. Now, it's easier to center it accurately using the arrow keys. Now, just like before, let's make it a hole and group it with the other cylinder. Now, let's do the last part of the Deathly Hallows and add the line. This step is much simpler. Let's drag in a cube and change the size in a way to make it look more like a line. Now let's drag it over to finish our symbol. Looks great. If we change our view, we can see that it is way too tall for a bookmark. Let's click on each object and change the height. Now the last part for a bookmark is the part that'll mark the book. Let's drag over another cube. Let's stretch it out to make it the right size, and let's flatten it out to make it level with the rest of the bookmark. I think it is important to note that Tinkercad shows us all of these different colors so that it's easier to look at the different shapes. If we did print this, it would be all in one color.
Great. Now that we've made our model, let's see what it takes for it to go from model to an actual bookmark to use. The first step is to use a piece of software called a slicer. I'm using Prusa Slicer. Here, we can drop in our model and press Slice Now. This will convert our 3D model that we made in Tinkercad into a list of instructions the 3D printer can follow. Now let's take this to our printer. So how does a 3D printer work? Well, at its core, it's a very advanced hot glue gun combined with a normal ink printer. In fact, 3D printing is basically doing a whole bunch of 2D prints. The slicer software we used earlier cut up our model into many different slices or layers. Then, all the 3D printer has to do is draw out a layer while spitting out liquid plastic, move up a little bit, and then repeat that process tens or even hundreds of times. There are a few different interesting parts of the printer. First, we have 3 different motors to control the 3 axes. So this is the x-axis moving. Then we have the y-axis moving. And then finally, we have the z-axis that moves up and down. So, using all these 3 axes, we have full control over where the plastic can be extruded from. Then we have what's called an extruder. This has a motor in it that grabs hold of this plastic, and then the plastic comes up in here, goes up here, and then comes down to here. This area is very hot, and so it's called the hot end. And here is where the liquid filament comes out. All of these complex systems work together to create beautiful models. Well, this turned out great. I hope this video was helpful. With some basic CAD knowledge, your imagination, and access to a printer, you can design and print some pretty amazing things.